I always thought love would sneak up on me. Quiet, slow, like a soft song I didn't know I was humming. But when I met Elena, it hit me like a thunderstorm in the middle of July. I was just another guy. Ryan Miller, 29, graphic designer, living in a shoebox apartment in Brooklyn with a leaky faucet and a plant I forgot to water half the time. My days were filled with client deadlines and frozen dinners. My nights? Mostly quiet. Empty. Until that gala night. My boss had dragged me to this fancy charity event uptown. Something about networking, exposure, blah blah. I didn't even own a tux. I rented one that didn't quite fit. I was counting the minutes until I could leave. And then I saw her. Elena. She walked in like the room belonged to her. Elegant. Confident. Wrapped in this deep green dress that made everyone stop talking. But it wasn't just the way she looked. It was the way she carried silence around her, like even noise bowed in her presence. She didn't laugh loudly. She didn't try to be the center of attention. But every eye followed her, mine included. I don't know what got into me that night. I'm not usually bold. But I walked right up to her and said, "Hi, I'm Ryan. I think I just forgot how to breathe." She laughed. God, that laugh. It was warm, like the first sip of coffee on a cold day. She said, "Well, Ryan, let's hope it's not permanent." We talked for hours that night. About art, music, our childhood dreams. She didn't share much about her personal life, and I didn't push. Something told me not to, but I couldn't stop thinking about her after that. One text led to another. Then coffee. Then dinner. Then nights that turned into mornings. She was different. The kind of woman who ordered wine like she knew the vineyard. Who read poetry but hated romantic movies, who never posted on social media, but somehow remembered the name of the barista at every coffee shop we visited. With Elena, I felt seen, not just like someone was watching me, but like someone understood me, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself believe in something real. Our lives were different. She had this mysterious air, always surrounded by expensive things, always getting cryptic phone calls she'd step outside to take. But I never questioned it. I didn't want to ruin what we had by looking too closely. Months passed. Every moment with her felt like a gift. Every kiss, a promise. So I started planning. The proposal. I saved up for the ring. Nothing flashy, but something real. I picked a spot, a rooftop garden in Manhattan where we had once shared a quiet picnic under fairy lights. I even practiced what I'd say. I wanted her to know I was all in. She said yes to dinner. Told me she had a surprise, too. That night, I wore my best suit. I arrived early, palms sweating, ring box hidden in my jacket pocket. I saw her walking toward me, flawless, radiant, and I swear my heart almost stopped. But she wasn't alone. Beside her was a man, tall, built like a soldier. Sharp eyes that scanned the room like he was expecting a threat. He didn't smile. He didn't even blink. She reached me and smiled that same smile that had once made me forget how to breathe. "Ryan," she said softly, "I want you to meet someone very important to me." I reached out my hand to the guy, confused. "Hey, I'm Ryan, Elena's, boyfriend." He looked at my hand but didn't shake it. His eyes? Cold, calculating. Elena placed a hand gently on his arm and said, "This is Caleb. He's my bodyguard." My brain stuttered. Bodyguard? I smiled, waiting for the punchline. There wasn't one. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. Because as she stood there, between the man I didn't know and the future I had planned, I realized I wasn't the only one keeping secrets. I'd planned every detail that evening. The rooftop sparkled with fairy lights. The city skyline stretched like a dream behind us, and a soft violin played in the distance, just loud enough to stir the heart, not so loud it stole the moment. Everything was perfect, almost too perfect. Elena stood across from me, her long red dress swaying slightly in the breeze. Her eyes were shining, lips slightly parted in what I thought was anticipation. Hope! I reached into my coat pocket and felt the cool velvet of the ring box. My hands were shaking, but not from nerves, from love, from knowing I was doing the right thing. I knelt down on one knee. looking up at her like she was the only star left in the sky. Elena Marie Thompson, I began, my voice catching slightly. From the moment I met you, my world hasn't been the same. You walked into my life like a storm, and I never wanted to calm after that. She didn't smile. Elena? I whispered, sensing something was off. She blinked, looked away for a second, and then did something I'll never forget. Instead of saying yes, she stepped back. Then she turned around toward the rooftop stairwell and called out, softly but clearly, Cole. Cole? A moment later, the door opened, and in walked a man I'd never seen before. Tall, broad shoulders, dressed in all black, no expression, eyes scanning me like I was a threat. He didn't look like a friend. He looked like security. Trained, sharp. He looked like someone who'd been watching us the entire time from the shadows. I stood slowly, completely thrown off. The ring box still open in my hand, heart still exposed. Who is he? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm, even as my stomach twisted. Elena turned back to me, her face unreadable. Ryan, before you ask anything, before you say anything, you need to meet him first. I looked at her, then at the man, Cole, who was now standing silently at her side like some dark guardian angel. Elena, what's going on? I asked, taking a slow step forward. I don't understand. I thought this was about us. It is, she said softly, her eyes flickering. But you don't know everything about me yet. She looked so conflicted in that moment, torn between two lives. One she had with me, and one I clearly didn't know existed. Cole's eyes never left me. He didn't speak, didn't move, but something about him told me that if I took one wrong step, he wouldn't hesitate to intervene. Elena, I said again, this time more firmly, why do you have a bodyguard? Who is he? Are you in danger? She looked away. I can't explain it all here. Not now, she whispered. But if you're serious about us, about loving me, then you need to know everything. And that starts with him. I didn't know what to say. This wasn't the night I'd planned. This wasn't the woman I thought I knew. And yet, standing there, heart cracked open and confused, I still couldn't walk away. Because love doesn't disappear with a single surprise. It lingers, especially when the truth hasn't been told yet. I glanced again at the man called Cole, then back at Elena. Her face was calm now, but her eyes, they held something deeper. Fear? Pain? Guilt? I couldn't tell. But I knew one thing for sure. Everything had just changed. And the woman I thought I knew, she was just beginning to reveal who she really was. I knew something was off the moment we walked into that coffee shop. The air felt colder somehow, even though the sun was shining outside. Maybe it was just him. Cole, he didn't even stand when Elena and I approached. He just sat there, arms crossed, eyes like steel, and when his gaze locked on me, I felt like I'd walked straight into a storm I wasn't prepared for. Ryan, Elena said gently, her hand brushing my arm like she was trying to tether me to calm. This won't take long. I didn't like this. I didn't like him. I didn't even know who he was. Really, just someone from her past, someone she never talked about. But now, here he was, staring at me like I'd stolen something. Sit, Cole said. Not please. Just sit like a command, not a request. I sat. The silence stretched for a beat too long, and then he spoke. She's not who you think she is. I blinked. Excuse me? He leaned in just slightly, his voice low, almost like he was making sure Elena heard every word too. You think you know her, but trust me, you don't. Not even close. I looked at Elena. She didn't flinch. She didn't deny it. Her face was unreadable, like she'd rehearsed this moment and still didn't know what to say. Okay, I said slowly, forcing a chuckle. Is this some kind of twisted ex-boyfriend jealousy thing? Because if it is, man, you can keep it. Cole didn't laugh. This isn't jealousy. This is a warning. His eyes burned into mine. Not wild, not angry, controlled, calculated. The kind of intensity that made my skin itch. He wasn't trying to scare me. He was telling me something he believed, with everything in him. And that scared me more than yelling ever could. You don't know what you're getting into, he he said. "You don't know what she's done." That's when I snapped. "You don't get to talk about her like that. You don't know our story. Whatever happened between you two, it's in the past. She chose me." "She chose you," he repeated, shaking his head, almost pitying. "She always chooses someone until she doesn't." I stood up. I couldn't sit there another second, letting the stranger plant seeds of doubt in my head. I didn't care who he was. I didn't care what history they had. He didn't know me, and he sure as hell didn't know us. "Elena, let's go." She stood slowly, her eyes still locked on Cole. There was a sadness in them I hadn't seen before, like something heavy was pressing on her chest, and she was too tired to push it off. But she didn't say a word, not until we were outside. We walked in silence, the echo of Cole's words rattling in my chest. I hated how they clung to me. I hated how confident he sounded. Finally, I stopped. "Elena, what the hell was that?" She looked at me with that same unreadable expression. "He shouldn't have said that to you. That's not an answer." She hesitated. And when she finally spoke, her voice was soft. Too soft. "I just need you to trust me. For now." "Trust you?" I laughed bitterly, my emotions spiraling. "After that? After the guy from your past sat there and basically called you dangerous? And you just let him?" She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Ryan," she said, eyes glistening, "there are things I can't explain yet, but I will. I promise. Just not now." Her voice cracked, and for a moment I saw something. Fear? Regret? Guilt? I didn't know. And that's what scared me the most. Because I thought I knew this woman. I thought I knew everything about her. But now I wasn't so sure. I turned away, every part of me screaming with confusion, with anger, with heartbreak I didn't yet understand. I didn't know who to believe. And I hated that I was starting to doubt the person I loved. Still, part of me couldn't shake the way Cole looked at me. Like he wasn't warning me out of spite, but out of mercy. I used to think love was this warm, safe place, like a quiet cabin in the woods during winter. But lately with Elena, it started to feel like I was staring through frosted glass. And the cracks were beginning to show. It began with the little things. A missed text, a call that went unanswered, a date night postponed at the last minute because she wasn't feeling well. At first, I told myself it was normal. People get busy, get tired, need space. I convinced myself I wasn't the insecure guy who needed constant reassurance. But then the missed moments started adding up like puzzle pieces that didn't quite fit. I remember the first time it hit me in the chest, that something was off. I'd planned a small getaway for us. Just 2 days at a lake house, nothing fancy. When I told her about it, her eyes widened, not with excitement, but fear, actual fear. She stammered something about work deadlines and needing to stay in town. Her smile was too tight. Her hug felt like someone trying to hold on, without holding close. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake wondering if I'd done something wrong. Had I said something? Moved too fast? But even in that swirl of doubt, there was this deeper feeling growing inside me, one I didn't want to admit out loud. Something wasn't right with Elena. She was still beautiful, still kind in all the right ways, but she had become unreachable. Like she was slipping through my fingers one moment at a time. And then there was that day at the cafe, where I caught her staring out the window, not at the sky or the trees, but at a man in a gray coat across the street. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. But her body tense like she'd seen a ghost. When I asked her who it was, she said no one and changed the subject. I didn't want to be that guy. You know, the paranoid one who starts checking her phone or asking for passwords. But I couldn't shake the feeling anymore. I had to know what was going on. So I started digging. It wasn't anything illegal, just curiosity. I searched for her online. Social media, school records, anything that could give me more of her. I realized I didn't know much about Elena before we met. She said she moved from out of state, Florida, I think, and was raised by her aunt. No siblings. She worked freelance. Nothing unusual. But when I searched, there was nothing. No digital footprint. No high school photos. No family pictures. No tag posts older than 2 years. It was like she didn't exist before then. And that's when the real doubt crept in. Not the kind you can brush away with logic. The kind that wakes you up at 3 a.m. and whispers in your ear, "What if none of this is real?" I kept trying to talk to her, but she kept slipping further away. One night, she didn't come over like she promised. Said her aunt was sick and she had to stay with her. I told her I understood, but her voice sounded distant. Hollow. And then, just before she hung up, I thought I heard something. A voice. A man's voice in the background, low and urgent, before the line cut. I stared at my phone for a long time that night, and in the silence that followed, something broke inside me. I wasn't just falling in love anymore. I was falling into a mystery. I didn't know how to escape. Who was Elena? Why was she running? And was she ever really mine to begin with? All I knew for sure was this. Everything was starting to feel like a lie, and the more I tried to hold on to her, the more I realized I might not be the only one watching her. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Every time Elena left, I felt this pull to follow her, to uncover whatever secret she was hiding. It wasn't just her late nights or the way she always seemed to be a little too careful with her phone. It was the way she'd act around certain people, like she was afraid of being caught, even when no one was looking. So, one night, when she told me she had to meet a friend for dinner, I made a decision. I'd follow her. I told myself it was just curiosity, a small, harmless act. After all, who doesn't wonder about the people they love, right? But deep down, I knew it wasn't harmless. This feeling had been building for months, and now it was gnawing at me. I had to know the truth. I waited until she was out of sight, then slipped out the door quietly. I kept a safe distance as I followed her down the street, my heart pounding in my chest. Elena moved quickly, almost too quickly, her eyes scanning the surroundings as if she were trying to make sure no one was watching. She stopped at a building I hadn't seen her go into before. My gut twisted. The apartment building looked unremarkable, tucked between two stores on a quiet side street. But something about it felt wrong, like a shadow had fallen over it. She looked around one more time before disappearing inside. I was frozen for a second, the weight of what I was about to do sinking in. But then, against all the better judgment in me, I moved forward. I waited by the alley, watching the entrance, hoping no one would notice me. And then, after what felt like an eternity, I saw her again. She was leaving, but this time, there was a different air about her. She wasn't in a hurry. She wasn't looking over her shoulder. She was just walking. I waited a little longer just to be sure. Then, with a deep breath, I slipped into the building after her. I took the stairs two at a time, my heart beating louder in my chest. Elena was gone, but I wasn't leaving empty-handed. I couldn't. Not after everything. The door to the apartment was slightly ajar, and as I stepped inside, the first thing I noticed was the coldness of the room. It was furnished, nothing extravagant, just basic stuff, but it was clear this wasn't her usual place. The air was stale, and there was a strange feeling in my gut, like I was trespassing in someone else's life. I stepped further in, my eyes scanning the space. That's when I saw it, the safe. It was hidden behind a bookshelf, so well disguised that I almost missed it. My fingers trembled as I reached for it, and for the first time, I was scared. I had to open it. I had to know. The combination was simple, and in seconds, I was staring down at a pile of cash, a few passports, and a gun. The sight of it made me freeze. My eyes jumped from one object to the other, my mind struggling to connect the dots. Elena had always been so careful, so calm. How could she be involved in something like this? And then I saw it. A photo tucked underneath the pile of documents. A photo of Elena, but it wasn't her name on the back. It was a different name, Sophie Lane. The blood in my veins ran cold. Elena? Sophie? I stared at the picture for a long time, trying to make sense of it all. But nothing made sense. Nothing. I dropped the photo and backed away, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The weight of what I was holding in my hands felt heavier now, like the whole world was pressing down on me. This wasn't just a secret. This was a whole life she'd been hiding. And now, somehow, I was a part of it. I stumbled back toward the door, my head spinning with confusion and dread. What the hell was I even looking at? And why didn't she tell me? Why didn't she trust me enough to share her truth? I had to know more. I had to find out who Sophie Lane really was, and what Elena had been hiding all this time. But just as I was about to leave, the door creaked. Someone was coming. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. And just like that, everything I thought I knew was about to shatter. I stood there, staring at her, but for the first time, I wasn't sure who I was looking at. She was sitting at the edge of the bed, brushing her hair like nothing had changed, like she hadn't just turned my entire world upside down. But everything had changed. The lies, the fake stories, the quiet panic in her eyes when certain names came up. I couldn't ignore it anymore. My chest felt tight. My heart was pounding like a war drum in my ears. I took a step forward and asked the question I never thought I'd have to say to the woman I loved. "Are you even Elena?" She froze. The brush slipped from her fingers, landing on the floor with a soft thud. She didn't move, didn't breathe, just sat there like a statue, like she'd been waiting for this moment to catch up to her. "Elena," I said again, more desperate this time, "if that's even your real name." She finally turned toward me, and I swear I saw a part of her shatter in that second. Her eyes welled up, and her lips trembled, but no words came out, only silence, and the truth pressing heavy between us. "Please," I said, my voice cracking, "I need to know who you are. I gave you everything, my trust, my heart, and now—" I swallowed the rest. It hurt too much to say out loud. She took a shaky breath, and then another, and then finally, "I'm sorry, Ryan," she whispered. "I never wanted you to find out like this." That's when I knew. She wasn't who I thought she was. She never was. She stood up slowly, her eyes locked on mine, and walked past me toward the window. Her shoulders slumped, like the weight of years was pulling her down. "My name isn't Elena," she said, barely above a whisper. "That was never my name." My heart dropped. "I'm part of the Federal Witness Protection Program. I was relocated here 2 years ago after my testimony, after what I saw." She paused, swallowing her fear. "I watched a man murder someone. I testified. He went to prison. But his people, they never forgot. They found me once. I had to start over. Again." I couldn't speak. My mind was racing. Witness protection? A murder trial? What the hell was happening? She turned to me, tears running down her cheeks now. "I didn't plan to meet you, Ryan. I didn't plan to fall for you. That wasn't supposed to happen." Her voice cracked. "But I did. I fell in love with you. And every single day since, I've been terrified that one wrong move would cost me everything. And Cole," I asked, my voice sharp, "your cousin? The one who follows you around like a shadow." She gave a sad smile. "He's not my cousin. He's a U.S. Marshal assigned to me. His job is to keep me alive, to watch for signs that I've been compromised." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My hands were shaking, and I didn't know if it was from anger or heartbreak, or the feeling of the ground disappearing beneath me. "So you lied to me," I said, "this whole time." "I had to," she said. "They told me not to get involved with anyone. But then you smiled at me that day in the bookstore, and God, Ryan, I was so tired of running, so tired of being nobody. You made me feel like a person again." I didn't know whether to scream or cry, because part of me understood, and part of me didn't care. "You should have told me," I said quietly. "I could have handled the truth." She shook her head. "You think that? But once you knew, your life would have been in danger too. I couldn't let that happen." The room felt like it was spinning. This woman, this beautiful, broken, brave stranger, had built a life with me on borrowed time, on a name that wasn't hers, on a truth I was never supposed to uncover. I looked at her, not knowing what to say, not knowing if the woman I loved even existed. She stepped closer. "Ryan, I never lied about how I felt about you. That part was real. It is real." But before I could answer, there was a knock at the door, 3 sharp, urgent bangs. Elena's face turned white. She glanced at the door, then back at me. "They found me," she whispered. And just like that, my world cracked open again. I used to believe love could conquer anything. But now, I'm not so sure. Elena and I, we were living on borrowed time. Every second together felt like a gift wrapped in danger. There were no ordinary dates, no public displays of affection, no simple joys. Only the quiet, stolen moments we carved out of chaos. Moments that felt more like dreams than reality. We would meet in out-of-the-way motels or take long drives to nowhere just to be alone. Sometimes we'd sit in silence, holding hands, our fingers interlaced like we were afraid. Letting go would break the spell. Other times, we'd talk for hours about everything and nothing, about what life could have been if we had met differently, if the truth hadn't shattered the world beneath us. She once looked at me, her eyes glistening in the faint moonlight pouring through the window, and whispered, "I wish I could stop time. Just here, just like this, with you." And for a second, I wished the same. But time doesn't stop for love, especially not forbidden love. Every night, I went to bed with the same sick feeling in my chest, that the next day could be the one where everything collapsed, that someone would find out, that Cole would piece it all together. Or worse, that Elena would decide it wasn't worth the risk anymore. She never said out loud, but I saw the fear in her eyes. She flinched at every phone call from home, every unexpected knock on the door. Her world was a tightrope, and she was losing balance with every step. But we kept going. Maybe we were reckless. Maybe we were fools. But in that fragile bubble we built around ourselves, we were free, even if only for a little while. Then one evening, as I was leaving her apartment, I saw Cole leaning against his car, arms crossed, jaw tight. His eyes locked onto mine with something between suspicion and sadness. "Ryan," he said, his voice low, "we need to talk." I hadn't heard that tone from him since we were kids. It wasn't anger. It was protective, wounded. We sat in his car for a long time, not speaking. Just the sound of rain tapping the windshield between us. Finally, he turned to me. "She's not just my sister, man. She's my family. My only real family left. And I know something's going on. I'm not blind." I opened my mouth to lie, to pretend I didn't know what he was talking about. But he held up his hand. "I'm not asking for details. I don't want to know. But I'm telling you this as your friend, and as her brother. Whatever this is, it can't go on. You have to walk away before someone gets hurt." His words hit harder than any punch. I wanted to scream at him, tell him he didn't understand, that what Elena and I had, it wasn't some fling. It was real, the only thing that had made sense in months. But deep down, I knew he wasn't wrong. We were building a future on quicksand, and every step forward just pulled us deeper. That night, I drove home in silence. No music, no lights, just the sound of my own heart, breaking quietly. I didn't tell Elena about the conversation. Not yet. I didn't know how. She met me the next day, smiling, holding 2 coffee cups in her hand like everything was normal, like we still had forever. And maybe we did. Or maybe we only had a few more stolen days before the storm swallowed us whole. I should have known something was off. The last few days, Elena had been distant. Not cold, just somewhere else. Her eyes would linger a little too long on the horizon. Her hands trembled when she thought I wasn't looking. And her kisses, God, even those started to feel like goodbyes dressed up as affection. But I didn't ask. I was scared of the answer. Then, that morning, Cole showed up at the diner. The same one where Elena and I had our first late-night milkshake, laughing until we couldn't breathe. But today, his face wasn't soft with memories. It was steel. He didn't order anything. Just slid into the booth across from me and said, "You should know before you hear it from someone else." My heart dropped into my stomach. "What are you talking about?" He hesitated. That made it worse. "Elena," she filed for a transfer. Out of state. She's leaving next week. I stared at him, blank, like my ears had heard it, but my brain refused to translate the meaning. "What?" "She's going to Denver." Voluntarily. Said she needed space. Said it was safer. Said, he paused. His eyes narrowed. "She said you were just a chapter." The words hit me like a slap across the soul. I couldn't even breathe. She made a choice, and it wasn't me. I left the diner without paying, without thinking. I just ran. My feet carried me across town until I was standing outside her apartment, fists pounding on her door like a madman. When she opened it, her eyes went wide with surprise. And something else. Guilt. You weren't supposed to find out like that, she whispered. Then how? Were you just going to disappear? My voice cracked. No goodbye, no explanation? Just vanish. Elena looked down, pulling her sweater sleeves over her shaking hands. Ryan, it's not what you think. Then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're running away. Again. She looked up, and for a second, I saw it. The war behind her eyes. The heartbreak. The regret. But it didn't change the fact that she was leaving. I'm doing this for you, she said quietly. They're watching me. Watching us. If we stay together, you'll be a target too. I don't care, I said, almost shouting. Let them come. I'm not scared. You should be. Her voice dropped. Cold. Final. This isn't your fight. Then why did you drag me into it? I asked, stepping back, hurt slicing through every word. You came into my life, lit it up like fire, and now you want to blow out like it meant nothing? Elena flinched. Don't say that. Why not? Isn't that what I am to you? A distraction? A temporary escape? I shook my head. A chapter? No, she whispered. You were the whole damn book. For a second, everything stilled. The ache in her voice almost made me believe her. Almost. But truth has a funny way of showing up in someone else's mouth. And when Cole said those words, she asked to be reassigned. You were just a chapter. He didn't flinch. Because maybe that was her truth. Maybe I was just something she needed to survive the moment. Something that helped her breathe for a while until she could walk away. I left without another word. And as the door clicked shut behind me, I knew something inside me had shattered. Not just trust. Not just love. But the belief that we were in this together. Because if she was willing to walk away to protect me, then maybe she never truly believed I was strong enough to stay. They say time heals everything. Whoever said that never met someone like Elena. It had been 6 months. 182 days of trying to forget her smile, her scent, her voice, and the dark whispering. Don't let go. But she let go, and I had to survive that. I left the city. Switched jobs. New apartment, no view. Quiet street, no memories. I deleted every photo, blocked every number, even changed mine. No more questions. No more what-ifs. I buried everything we were. But the heart has a way of keeping graves shallow. That night, I was at an art show downtown. I didn't even want to go. My coworker dragged me out, said I needed to breathe different air, see different faces. Something about healing through beauty. I wasn't listening. I just needed the noise. The gallery was full of strangers, wine glasses, soft jazz, half-finished conversations echoing off white walls. I wandered, hands in pockets, pretending to care about brushstrokes and abstract pain. Then I saw her. At first, I thought I was hallucinating, my brain playing a cruel trick. But no, it was her, Elena, or someone who looked exactly like her, but different. Her hair was shorter, dyed auburn. She wore a green silk dress, something she never would have chosen before. And around her neck, instead of the pendant I gave her, she wore a thin black choker. A name tag clipped to her dress read, L. Dawson, Gallery Liaison. L. Dawson, not Elena. She moved like her, smiled like her, tilted her head the way Elena did when pretending not to care. She was laughing with a couple by the sculpture near the far wall, and then her eyes met mine. For a second, the entire room froze. I felt the ground pull beneath my feet. My lungs forgot how to breathe. She looked right at me, and in that split second, I saw her recognize me. Her smile faltered, but she didn't cry. She didn't run. She didn't say my name. She turned away, walked right past me, like I was no one. No one. I followed, stumbling through the crowd like a man underwater. "Elena?" I whispered, loud enough for only the ghost to hear. She didn't look back. She disappeared into the corridor behind the gallery staff door. And I just stood there, hard in my throat, brain short-circuiting. Was I insane? Was this a game? Had she been alive this whole time pretending? Why? I turned around, needing answers, needing air, when I saw him. Cole, standing in the shadows by the exit, his hands in his coat pockets, watching me. Same calm, unreadable expression. Like none of this surprised him. He gave me a nod. Just one, slow nod, as if to say, "You saw her. You were meant to." I blinked, and he was gone. I don't remember how I got home that night, but I didn't sleep, because the woman I mourned was alive. And somehow, this wasn't the end. It was something else. Something far, far more dangerous. It's been exactly 1 year, 12 months, 365 days since Sophie vanished from my life. Since the day she walked out that hospital door without a word, leaving behind nothing but silence and memories that still burn like fire in my chest. Every day since then has felt like trying to breathe underwater. Like life just kept moving while I stood frozen in the middle of it. People told me to move on, that maybe it was for the best, that if she loved me, she would have stayed. But they didn't know her like I did. They didn't see the way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't watching. They didn't feel how tightly she clung to me at night, like I was the only thing keeping her grounded. She was scared not of me, but of whatever truth she carried. And I guess I wasn't strong enough for her to trust me with it. And then today it came. A plain white envelope. No return address. No name on the front. Just my own, scribbled in handwriting I'd memorized down to the loops in her Sophie. My heart damn near stopped right then and there. I just stood at the mailbox, frozen, staring at that envelope like it was some kind of ghost. It felt warm in my hands, like her, like she had just sealed it a second ago, her fingers still brushing the paper. I walked back into the house on autopilot, sat down at the kitchen table, where we used to drink coffee together in the mornings, and I opened it. Her words spilled out like a confession, bleeding through every line with love, regret, and something else I didn't expect. "Ryan, I'm sorry for everything, for disappearing, for not being brave enough to tell you the truth when I should have. But please believe me when I say leaving you was the hardest thing I've ever done." Her handwriting shook more than I remembered, but it was her. It was her. I had to protect you from the past I ran from the danger that came looking for me. I never meant to drag you into my mess, but I couldn't bear the thought of you getting hurt because of me. I swallowed hard, my eyes already blurring. I want you to know something. I never stopped loving you, not for a single second, even when I walked away. Even now, I pressed the letter to my chest like I could feel her heartbeat through it. But it wasn't done, not even close. There's something else you need to know. I'm not alone anymore. You're not either. My hand started trembling as I read the next words. "I'm pregnant, Ryan. It's yours. A little piece of you and me, a part of our love that I carry with me every day." I don't know how long I sat there. Minutes. Hours. Maybe I blinked and the world just paused to give me space to fall apart. My chest caved in, like my heart didn't know if it should break or beat harder than ever. You'll probably never see us. That's the part that hurts the most. But I hope you'll forgive me. And I hope one day our child will know the kind of man you are. And that was it. No location. No phone number. Just a name signed at the bottom. Elena. Not Sophie. Elena. Her real name. The name I only heard once, whispered like a secret in the dark. She wanted me to know the truth. Finally, I sat there, tears dripping onto the paper, smudging her ink. A million thoughts screamed in my head. Where was she? Was she safe? Was the baby okay? Did she miss me the way I missed her? But one thought drowned them all. Why now? Why send this now? I don't know if this was closure, or just another crack in a heart that never truly healed. All I know is that somewhere out there, a woman I love more than life is carrying our child. And I might never see either of them. But she's alive. They're alive. And maybe that has to be enough. For now, because deep down I can't shake the feeling. This story isn't over yet. They say time heals all wounds. But some wounds, they don't heal. They just learn how to hide beneath your skin. And sometimes, on quiet days like this, they whisper back. It's a warm afternoon in Central Park. The sun's dipping low, casting long golden streaks between the trees. There's laughter in the air. A little girl runs past me, her father chasing after her with a grin that could light up the world. And I just watch. I walk slower these days, not because my body's tired, but because my heart is. Every corner of this park carries a memory. The bench where she first told me she loved me. The lake where we sat, hands barely touching, dreaming out loud. The bridge where she said goodbye, with eyes full of secrets I never saw coming. Her name still echoes in my mind. Elena, or was it Sophie? I still don't know who she truly was. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is that she knew me, the real me, the one I try to hide behind jokes, behind ambition, behind the fear of being abandoned again. She saw through all of it, and for a moment, just a fleeting, fragile moment, I believe we could beat fate. But fate has sharp edges. I sit on our old bench. Leaves tumble around me like time itself is shedding. I watch a couple in their 60s walk by, holding hands like teenagers. I smile. It's bittersweet. I wanted that. With her, I close my eyes and I can still feel her hand in mine. I can still hear her laugh, bright, reckless, unfiltered. I can still taste the way she kissed me that last night, like she already knew she was going to vanish. She didn't just leave me with questions. She left me with memories that won't fade. And yet I'm still grateful. Because even if it ended in pain, even if everything we had was wrapped in lies, it was real to me. Love doesn't always last forever, but it changes us forever. And maybe that's what love really is. Not just the staying, but the shaping. I'm not the man I used to be, and I'll never be him again, because loving her, losing her, taught me how deep this heart can go, how much it can break and still keep beating. He stands, brushing his hands over the bench, like saying goodbye to a ghost. Sometimes love means letting go, even when it breaks you. He walks slowly toward the exit of the park. As he passes a pond, a small duck swims by, rippling the water like time unfolding. I stop, breathe, turn back one last time. Soft wind stirs the trees. Light filters through the branches like fading memories. And I whisper into the empty air, "Goodbye, Elena," or "Sophie." A pause. He smiles, soft-broken but real. "Whoever you were, thank you for teaching me what it means to love, even when it hurts.